I never planned to become a tech CEO. But life has a way of surprising you. Just like I surprised my mother-in-law the day my little online business hit the NASDAQ. My name is Maya Chen, and for 3 years I've been the secret founder and CEO of SecureFlow, a cybersecurity company valued at $4.2 billion. Not that my mother-in-law Patricia Harrison knew that. To her, I was just her son's underachieving wife who played on the computer all day, while her precious David worked as a junior partner at a law firm. The day everything changed started like any other Sunday family dinner at the Harrison estate. Their sprawling Victorian mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, was a monument to old money and older prejudices. I parked my modest Honda Civic next to David's BMW, a car his parents had gifted him for making partner. "You're late," Patricia said as I walked in, still wearing the plain black sweater and jeans I'd thrown on after an emergency board meeting. Her eyes swept over my outfit with familiar disapproval. "And underdressed. Again." "Sorry," I said, kissing David's cheek as I sat down. "Work emergency." Patricia sniffed. "What emergency could there possibly be with your, what do you call it, blog?" "It's a tech startup, mother," David corrected, but without much conviction. Even he didn't know the full scope of what I did. SEC regulations around the IPO had required complete confidentiality. "Ladies don't start businesses," Patricia announced, signaling the staff to serve dinner. "They support their husbands' careers." Speaking of which, David has exciting news. I turned to my husband, curious. He'd been working late recently, but I'd assumed it was regular law firm chaos. "The firm is opening a London office," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "They want me to head it up. We'll need to move by the end of the month." The sterling silver fork froze halfway to my mouth. "End of the month? David, that's in 2 weeks. Isn't it wonderful?" Patricia beamed. Finally, a chance for David to have a real career without distractions. She looked pointedly at me. "Of course, you'll have to give up your little computer hobby." "It's not a hobby," I said quietly, my mind racing. The IPO was scheduled for tomorrow morning. The company was about to go public and my husband was announcing an international move. "Oh please," Patricia waved her hand dismissively. "Playing around online while living off my son's hard work? That's the definition of a hobby." David shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. His silence hurt more than his mother's words. "I make my own money," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Patricia laughed, a sharp sound that cut through the dining room. "Your husband pays for everything. This false pride about your career has gone on long enough." She turned to the other dinner guests, David's sister Emma and her investment banker husband, his father George, who was half listening while reading market reports on his phone. "Did you know she won't even let David buy her proper clothes? Running around in department store bargains while he makes partner." "Mother." David started, but she was on a roll. "It's embarrassing. Everyone at the club talks about it. My son's wife, playing entrepreneur while he supports her. What kind of woman doesn't want to support her husband's career? London is your chance, David. A fresh start without this startup nonsense holding you back." The room had grown uncomfortably quiet. Emma's husband James was suddenly very interested in his wine glass. George continued pretending to read his phone. I looked at David, waiting for him to defend me, to tell them about the late nights I worked, the calls I took, the passion I had for my company. But he just stared at his plate. 3 years. 3 years of building something revolutionary while staying silent about my success to protect the IPO. 3 years of enduring Patricia's jabs and David's passive acceptance. All of it was about to end one way or another. "Actually," I said, placing my napkin carefully on the table, "I have an announcement too." Patricia rolled her eyes. "Let me guess. Your little website got 100 new followers." "Not exactly." I pulled out my phone and opened the confidential press release scheduled for 5 a.m. tomorrow. SecureFlow Technologies is going public tomorrow morning on the NASDAQ. Opening share price is projected at $68, with a company valuation of $4.2 billion. The silence that followed was deafening. George's phone slipped from his fingers, clattering against his wine glass. "What?" James, the investment banker, was suddenly paying very close attention. "SecureFlow." George finally spoke. "The cybersecurity company that developed the quantum encryption protocol? That's your company." I nodded. "I founded it 3 years ago. I'm the CEO. Impossible, Patricia sputtered. You're lying. David, tell her to stop making up stories. But David was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Maya? Is this true? Check your phone, I told James, who was already frantically Googling. The press embargo lifts in an hour. But yes, it's true. And no, David, I won't be moving to London. I have a company to run. James let out a low whistle, showing his phone to Emma. She's telling the truth. SecureFlow. Holy shit. We've been trying to get a meeting with them for months. The encryption technology they've developed. It's revolutionary. But, Patricia looked like she was having trouble breathing. You sit around in cheap clothes working on your laptop. Running a multi-billion-dollar company, I finished for her. Those department store bargains you love to mock? I wore them because SEC regulations required complete confidentiality before the IPO. No unexplained displays of wealth, no hints about the company's success. I turned to David. I couldn't even tell my husband. Why didn't you tell me? David's voice was barely a whisper. Would you have believed me? I asked softly. You never once asked about my work. Never defended me when your mother dismissed my career. You just assumed I was playing at business while you supported me. But the apartment, Patricia interrupted. The Honda. David pays. I pay, I corrected her. All of it. The apartment is in my name. I let David think he was supporting us because his pride was important to him. Just like I let you think I was a failure because proving you wrong wasn't worth risking my company's success. George was frantically typing on his phone now. The encryption protocol. The government contracts. That was all you? I stood up, smoothing my bargain rack sweater. The press conference is at 9 tomorrow morning. I should go prepare. David, we can discuss London later. I picked up my sensible handbag. The one Patricia had once called embarrassingly cheap. Oh, and Patricia? Those rumors at the club about your son supporting his embarrassing wife? You might want to get ahead of them. By tomorrow morning, everyone will know who I really am. The dining room erupted into chaos as I walked out. Emma was demanding to know more about the company. James was already calling his office. George was still staring at his phone in disbelief. And Patricia? Patricia looked like her entire world had just been turned upside down. In my car, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. My phone was already buzzing with messages. The embargo had lifted, and the business world was about to learn about the silent CEO who had revolutionized cybersecurity. Tomorrow would bring changes that would reshape not just my family dynamics but the entire tech industry. The time for silence was over. As I drove away from the Harrison estate, I couldn't help but smile at the thought of Patricia trying to explain to her country club friends that her daughter-in-law wasn't a failure after all. Sometimes the best success is the one you don't see coming. And sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one you should have been listening to all along. The morning of the IPO, I stood in front of my closet and finally reached for the back section. The after IPO wardrobe I'd been secretly building. The Chanel suit fit perfectly, its price tag more than Patricia's monthly country club dues. My cheap Honda stayed in the garage. The driver I'd arranged months ago waited outside with a Mercedes. Miss Chen, my assistant Sarah buzzed through my phone. CNBC is ready for your remote interview. The trading floor live shot is scheduled for the opening bell in 45 minutes. I checked my reflection one last time. Gone was the carefully cultivated image of David Harrison's modest wife. Today the world would meet Maya Chen, CEO of SecureFlow Technologies. My phone buzzed again. David. His 7th call since last night. I let it go to voicemail. The CNBC interview was first. Joining us now is Maya Chen, founder and CEO of SecureFlow Technologies, one of the most anticipated IPOs of the year, the anchor began. Ms. Chen, your quantum encryption protocol has been called revolutionary. Why keep your identity secret until now? I smiled, thinking of Patricia's face last night. Innovation thrives in focus, not spotlight. We wanted our technology to speak for itself. Sources say you turned down acquisition offers from major tech companies, including a reported $2 billion offer from Silicon Valley giant TechCorp. Why go public instead? SecureFlow's mission is to democratize advanced cybersecurity. We believe staying independent best serves that mission. The questions continued, about the technology, the government contracts, the future plans. Not one about being a female CEO or my age or my family. Just my work. Finally. At 9:15 a.m., I stood on the gleaming trading floor of the NASDAQ, surrounded by my core team, the brilliant minds who'd believed in my vision 3 years ago. Sarah handed me a tablet showing incoming messages. Emma, OMG, just saw you on CNBC. You're trending on Twitter. James, my firm's analysts are going crazy. Can we meet next week? George, the country club is showing your interview in the main room. Patricia left in tears. And from David, please come home. We need to talk. The opening bell rang. SecureFlow's stock symbol SecureFlow flashed across the massive screens. The initial price of $68 held for about 3 seconds before shooting up. $75. Someone shouted. $82. $90 and climbing. By lunch, the stock had settled at $95, making the company worth nearly $6 billion. My phone had finally stopped buzzing. Probably because both David and Patricia had watched my net worth climb to over $2 billion in real time. Car's ready, Sarah announced. The Four Seasons has prepared the presidential suite for you. I'd booked it weeks ago, knowing I wouldn't want to face David immediately after the IPO. But now, looking at his messages, I made a different decision. Take me home, I told the driver. David was waiting in our apartment. Our real apartment, not the modest one his parents had visited. The penthouse view of Central Park stretched out behind him as he paced. You bought this place, he said when I walked in. It wasn't a question. 2 years ago. The other apartment was for show. Like the Honda. The cheap clothes. Our whole life together. No. I set down my briefcase, Hermes no longer hidden in the closet. Our life together was real. I just didn't share one part of it. One part. He laughed bitterly. You're a billionaire, Maya. You run a company that just went public. You've been letting me think I was supporting us while you, what? Played some kind of game. Played a game. My comm finally cracked. I built a revolutionary company from nothing. I protected it from corporate espionage, kept it independent despite enormous pressure to sell. And yes, I let you think you were the provider because your ego needed that. My ego? You never once asked about my work, David. Not really. You let your mother mock my career for years without a word. Would you have believed me if I'd told you the truth? Or would you have dismissed it like everything else I've done? He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. London is not happening, I finished firmly. At least not for me. You need to decide what you want, David. A wife who pretends to be less than she is to make you comfortable, or a partner who challenges you to grow. Does it matter what I want? You've clearly been making all the decisions anyway. I made decisions about my company. But our marriage? That's a decision we make together. If you still want to. He looked up at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in years. I don't even know who you are. Yes, you do. I'm the same woman you fell in love with. I just have a bigger office now. My phone buzzed, Patricia's name flashing on the screen. I showed it to David. Your mother's called 12 times since the market opened. Should I take this one? He nodded slowly. Hello, Patricia. Maya. Her voice was different, smaller somehow. I saw you on television. Yes. The country club president called. They want to host a reception in your honor. To celebrate the IPO. I almost laughed at the irony. How generous. I know I don't deserve. That is, would you consider attending? I looked at David, still watching me with uncertain eyes. That depends. Will you be introducing me as the woman who plays on her laptop all day? The silence on the other end was long. Finally, I was wrong. About everything. I'm sorry. Thank you, Patricia. That means a lot. And surprisingly it did. But I'm afraid I'll have to decline. The company is hosting its own IPO celebration next week. You and George should come. Bring David if he wants to attend as my husband. I ended the call to find David standing. Will I want to attend as your husband? That's up to you. But if you do, it needs to be as my true partner. No more pretending to be less to make others feel more. He took a step toward me. The apartment is amazing. Wait until you see my office. Maya Chen, tech CEO. He tested the words. It suits you better than David Harrison's wife. I can be both. If you want that. He closed the distance between us. Does your billion-dollar company have an opening for a lawyer who needs to learn some humility? I smiled. We might. But you'll have to interview like everyone else. Fair enough. He touched my face gently. I'm sorry I didn't see you. Really see you. I'm sorry I didn't trust you with the truth. Do-over. I nodded. Do-over. 6 months later, I stood at a podium in SecureFlow's new headquarters, announcing our latest innovation in quantum security. David sat in the front row next to Patricia, who was actually taking notes. She'd enrolled in coding classes at the local community college, determined to understand her daughter-in-law's world. George had joined our board of directors, bringing valuable old-world business connections to our new-world technology. Emma was heading our charitable foundation, focusing on tech education for underprivileged girls. And James? He was still trying to get that meeting. David had surprised everyone by turning down the London position and instead joining a small civil rights law firm. Time to make my own mark, he'd said. Without family connections. Our marriage had changed too. No more pretense, no more hidden successes. We were true partners now, supporting each other's dreams equally. After the presentation, Patricia approached me clutching her notebook. I have questions about the encryption protocol, she said, completely serious. I smiled, remembering her dismissive words about playing on computers. Let's discuss it over dinner, I suggested. I know this lovely little place. The country club? She asked hopefully. Better. A small Vietnamese restaurant where I held SecureFlow's first team meeting. The owner still saves my favorite table. Patricia's face fell slightly, then brightened with understanding. Perfect. I'd love to see where it all began. As we walked out, David took my hand. Happy. I looked around at my company, my family, my life where I could finally be fully myself. Happy, I confirmed. That evening, sitting in the small restaurant where my dream had started, watching Patricia earnestly discuss coding basics with our lead engineer while David argued civil rights law with the owner's daughter, I realized something profound. Success isn't just about proving others wrong. Sometimes it's about giving them the chance to prove themselves right. Patricia never again questioned my career choices. Instead, she became SecureFlow's biggest champion, proudly telling anyone who would listen about her daughter-in-law, the tech CEO. The same country club friends who had once whispered about David supporting his embarrassing wife now begged for introductions to investors. But I didn't care about their validation anymore. I had something better. The freedom to be exactly who I was, a woman who could build billion-dollar companies and still enjoy Sunday family dinners. Even if those dinners now included discussions about quantum encryption over dessert.